If you run a freelance or gig business in Malaysia, whether it's full-time or part-time, you have to file tax. And it's important that you do it right, because if you don't, you may risk getting fined by LHDN thousands of ringgit. But if you do it right, it could potentially save you thousands of ringgit via better tax rate. So this video is all about how to file your tax right as a business owner or freelancer in Malaysia. First thing first, when you run a freelance business in Malaysia, it's important that you register yourself as a business with SSM. Whether it's a sole proprietorship or either a partnership or an LLC. Because when you are registered as a business in Malaysia, you are able to enjoy a better tax rate by claiming business expenses. And you can only do that when you are registered as a business. So if you run a freelance business, it's important that you register yourself as a business for the first step. Secondly, when it comes to the time of filing your tax, you don't have to file tax like any other employee where they do it before the 30th of April. But as a business owner, whether are you full-time or part-time, you will be filing your tax by the deadline of 30th of June. And very often with e-filing, it will extend up to 15th of July. And since now you're filing your tax as a business owner, you will be filing your tax using Borang B instead of Borang E. If previously you haven't started a freelance business, so what happened is that you're filing your tax under Borang E, and right now you've started a freelance business, so you need to file a tax under Borang B. You're wondering if you need to tell LHDN about it? Well, the answer is no. So far, based on what I've gathered, after asking tax accountants and staff within LHDN as well, they've mentioned to me there's no need to do that. All you need to do is just file your tax on time under Borang B before 30th of June, and what happened is LHDN will automatically adjust your status from an employee to a business owner. The next step here is very important. When you're filing your tax as a business owner, it's very important that you prepare your own sets of accounts for your business. Because unlike the time as an employee, you'll be just given an EA form that everything is already calculated and all you need to do is just fill in your E form on LHDN. Well, as a business owner, you need to first prepare your accounts. This is because under the business account, you're entitled to claim for many business expenses relating to your business. Depending on your business, there are many things that you can minus off as a business expense. For example, such as expenses for entertainment with your client, or even traveling expenses, petrol, and even claims by your employees. Like in our case here, a computer is definitely one of the things that we always use, and camera. Depending on your industry, you can actually minus off quite many of these things as business expenses. However, here I would highly suggest you to speak to a tax accountant because they are the experts in this matter. It's better to leave it at their hands to actually prepare the accounts because they know exactly what you can minus off and what you can't minus off. You better don't simply do it yourself, because if you do it wrong, you may risk getting fined by LHDN when an audit comes. So once again, I advise you to get a tax accountant. Over the years, in my experience of hiring tax accountant to do my accounts and also file my tax for me, they will usually prepare a set of accounts for you, including the profit and loss statement and also your balance sheet. And on top of that, they will usually fill up the whole e-filing Borang B for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. All you need to do is just sit back, relax, and when they send you the link, click the link and make payment on LHDN yourself. That makes life much more simpler. However, maybe you're just starting out and you feel like you can't afford a tax accountant at this point. Then you may want to prepare all these account stuff yourself and do the whole tax filing yourself. But once again, be very careful about it, because any mistakes and you get caught for audit, you may risk getting fined. One more thing you have to remember, you have to keep a record of all these accounts and keep all those receipts that you're using for the business expenses claim, because LHDN can come to you and ask you to present 7 years of record. One tip I can offer you is to scan everything into your computer, including those receipts. Because you know how these receipts, after certain years, those carbon printing will just fade away. By then, you probably can't see anything. So by storing it into your computer in the perfect image, at least it's gonna be permanently stored in your hard drive. Great! Now you're all ready to file your taxes, and the first step is to go to mytax.hasil.gov.my. Obviously, you need to have a tax identification number. If you do not have one already, you can go to LHDN and register yourself. But if you were already an employee before, you likely got a tax identification number. If you do not have one, Naughty, naughty. Once you log on to your account, you'll be directed to a dashboard where it will show all the previous amount of taxes that you paid, what are the tax payable currently, and also if there's any refund amount entitled to you. When you scroll down, you will see this e-filing form status for year of assessment. Then you will see your e-form B have not been submitted or e-form BE if, let's say, previous year you were just an employee. Click the year of assessment, in this case 2022. Then you'll be directed to a new page where you're given 3 options under Individu Pemastautin, which is under individual tax. There'll be Form EBE, Form EB, and Form EBT. Now, as a business owner, you will pick Form EB. At the Tahun Taksiran, choose the year that you want to file your tax return for. In this case, 2022. As you can see here in the header, it says return form for an individual resident who carries on business. Then you're at the right form. Form B. In the first part here under personal details, it is very much similar to a normal Form E. So just fill in your personal details and move on to the next page. If your business nature is under e-commerce, you will need to click yes for this particular column. If let's say it is not, then just click no. Under page 2, here's where they will start asking you questions about your business. And specifically, they'll be asking you if your business is actually an e-commerce business. If your business is an e-commerce business, you will need to select yes, then provide them with your website address. However, if your business is not an e-commerce, just select no. Then you will need to scroll down the page. Under the section of particular business income or financial particulars of individual, you will have to click to fill. This is where it really differs from a Form E, where you will need to fill up all the details based on the accounts that were prepared earlier. Remember I mentioned earlier, you will need to prepare a tax account. Now let me just run through with you what you need to do to fill this up. But since I'm not a tax accountant, I may get it wrong. So you better double check. Now back to what you need to do. The front part here, it talks about losses of current year of assessment. This part here, if you're not losing money, you don't have to fill it up. Then you move on to the next part where it says losses of prior year of assessment. Again, if your business is new, you have no information about it, there's no need to fill it up. And if your business is not losing money, then there's no need to fill it up as well. The next part here is where you need to pay more attention. Financial particulars of individual, main business only. You need to key in the name of your business. This will be the name that you use to register for your SSM. Remember we talked about it earlier? Then key in the business code. If you're unsure of what is your business code, you can always click this little icon here where it will direct you to a PDF file where it has a list of all these business codes for the different industry and businesses. Look for your business in this list, take the code and fill it in. Once you're done with this part, click the trading profit and loss account. Under the sales or turnover, you want to record your revenue. This is revenue before you minus any business expenses. Then fill in according to the items. Like for example here, opening stock. Since we are a media company, we do not have any stock, so I'm just gonna leave it empty. Purchase and cost of production. Again, as a media company, we don't really have much cost of production per se, and we do not have closing stock, so I'm just gonna leave it empty here. Then I'll move on to other incomes, and under other incomes here, usually it's about other businesses. So for those of you guys who actually have a few freelance business, then you may need to fill in these parts here, the income from your other businesses as well, such as dividends, interest, rents, and so on and so forth. But if you do not have any of that, then you can move on to expenses. Under this part here is not a detailed accounting, as you can see, it is just under general items. So you need to already have your accounts prepared. Then you fill up according to this particular list here.
So loan or interest could be like, say you took up a loan under your business name and right now you're serving a loan, so there's interest and you need to minus off this interest under business expense. Then fill in the column. Salaries and wages is the part where if you hire staff, then you take their salary and you key it in. Yeah, usually it's the annual salary. If you rented an office space to run your business, then you need to fill up these columns here. Anything else that's not mentioned in this particular list here, you want to put it under other expenses.
Now here, one very important thing that you have to take note is your process of preparing these accounts. And that's why it can get very tricky, because depending on business, there are the things that you can minus off expenses, certain things you can't, and those things that you have to minus off under expenses will generally be related to your business. And as an individual business owner, such as a sole proprietor or maybe a partnership, there will be certain things that you can't minus it off fully. Let me give you an example. As a freelance business owner, you may want to minus off your telephone bill as part of your business expense. I mean, why not, right? Because we need to use our phone to call people and make sales and contact our vendor, supplier, or whatnot. It's part of a very crucial business operation, having a phone, right? So you may want to minus off your mobile plan package as part of this. But But you have to remember, you may not be able to expense the full amount of your mobile package plan. You may only be able to minus off 50% of it. The point I want to make is that this really depends on your particular industry that you are in and the business that you're running, so you better talk to a tax accountant on what you can minus off as business expenses and how much you can minus it off. Once you're done with the expenses, you want to move on to the fixed assets. Then once again, you fill in according to the items that are listed there, and once you're done, you go to your current asset, and again, you fill in the numbers according to the items listed there, and once you're done, you move on to current assets, and liability is the same procedure there. Just fill in according to the items listed there. And the final part that you have to fill in is on the owner's equity, and again, fill it in according to the items listed there. Now, looking at all this, you may be wondering to yourself, it is really confusing and you really do not know what to fill in. Truth is, I too find it really confusing because although I understand how to read a financial statement, but preparing one is a whole different skill set. And when it comes to preparing a whole set of financial accounts for businesses, you need to have a lot of knowledge. Not just knowledge in preparing accounting statements, but also knowledge when it comes to tax. So it is really a very specialized skill set. I would really highly encourage you guys out there to actually get yourself a tax accountant. And sometimes it's really not that expensive. It can be just 500 ringgit up to about 1,000 if you get a freelance tax accountant to do the job for you. The most important thing here is you do not want to stinge on that few hundred to 1,000 ringgit only to find yourself filling the whole thing wrongly and end up risk getting fined by LHDN. Nonetheless, if you still choose to do this yourself, well, the best that I can do is to attach some real good resources about tax filing down in the description there so you can check it out once you're done with this video. Once you're done filling up this whole part here, once you click next, they will direct you back to the earlier page. Then you can click next. And now on this third part of your Form B, you will be directed to a statutory income and total income page where you need to fill in the details of both your business income from your freelance and also your employment income. Under the first line here, statutory income from sources of business in Malaysia, you need to fill up the profit from your freelance business. The second item here will be number of business. If you have only one business, then you put in one. If you have two business, then put in two, whatever amount of business that you have. Statutory income from sources of partnership will be the third item here. If your business is not a partnership, it's a sole proprietor, naturally you fill up the first item. If it is a partnership, then you fill up the third item here, right? So it depends on how many business you have and so on and so forth. For me, it's gonna be 0. Now, this fourth item here is where it gets interesting. Aggregate statutory income from sources of business and partnership outside of Malaysia received in Malaysia effective from 1st of July 2022. This means if you have any business dealings outside of Malaysia, but you receive the income in Malaysia, that amount is taxable. Therefore, you will need to report that. The next section will be statutory income from sources of employment in Malaysia. Here is where you fill in your employment income. Again, they'll ask you number of employment, then you fill in accordingly. Then next will be statutory income from sources of rent in Malaysia. So if you have a property that's rented out, you want to fill in the rental income that you're receiving from this property that's rented out. Next part will be statutory income from interest, discount, royalty, premium, pension, annuities, and other stuff, blah blah blah. And all this, again, you have to fill it out. So moving ahead is just very simple. You just need to read through what are the items that they've listed there. If you have anything relating to that, then you want to fill it in. If you do not understand it and you don't have any of it, then just leave it empty. The next part here is the monthly tax deduction, and usually this part is already automatically filled up, so you don't really need to worry about it. This monthly tax deduction thing is basically that PCB that is being minus off from a salary on a monthly basis. So nothing much to talk about. Then the next item here is self-installment or CP 500. If you have been filing your tax for a while right now as a business owner, you will have this CP 500 where it kind of works like the PCB under employment, and you need to prepay your tax in advance under installment. So if you have it, you will know what it is. If you don't have it, means this is the first time that you're filing tax as a freelancer. The next part here is the non-employment income preceding years that are not declared. Well, this part is a chance for you to declare whatever income that you haven't declared in the past. So let's say in the year 2021 or 2020, you have been receiving income from your freelance business, but you have not declared tax before. Maybe you want to declare tax right now, then you key in those information here. Once you're done with this, just click next. Now we are at the part 4 of your form B, which is filling up the personal tax relief. Now this part is actually the same for any employees or even as a business owner. So if you're an employee and you fill up your tax relief part before, you will know exactly how to do this. But if you do not know how to do this and you need a video to guide you through it, you can check out our previous video about step-by-step guide on how to file your individual tax as well. Once you're done with this part on personal tax relief, you can move on to the last part of your filing. On the last part of this form B is going to be a summary of your tax return. So just check it through, make sure everything is correct, then you click next. Here is the final step. You reach the declaration page, and if you are confirmed that everything that you filled in earlier was accurate and you're comfortable with it, all you need to do is click sign and submit. Then your tax filing is done. All that's left after that is just to make the payment. And that's all you need to know to file tax as a business owner in Malaysia. But if you're still confused and you need someone to guide you through on the tax relief part, we actually have a video made about it some time ago. You can check it out in the link here.